today we're venturing into the great outdoors once again. And by venturing in, I mean hiding in my air-conditioned studio, just like I do every other week. But we're pretending to venture into the great outdoors with Doug Leier from North Dakota Game and Fish. I guess it would be helpful if I showed the people Doug.
Here I am.
You are our guest of honor today and every Wednesday.
Yep.
It hasn't changed much, has it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
It looks good though.
By
That's
choice.
what really matters.
By choice.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, I could. No, I couldn't. No,
I think it looked good.
Yeah.
We're going to switch hairstyles one of these days. And April Fool's, what day is that? If that's a Wednesday, we got to have you in and we'll switch hairstyles.
Okay, so I haven't quite. I mean, I enjoy our visits and stuff like that, but I haven't gathered. Are you like a Minnesota Vikings fan, a Green Bay Packers fan?
No, okay. Actually, fun. So I grew up in Alaska, right? No allegiances. My whole family's Vikings fans because my family's like from this area.
Yeah.
They're from Minnesota, but. So I, obviously, as a rebellious youth, I couldn't be a Vikings fan.
No.
They were like the one team I couldn't be a fan of. I was a college football fan first, USC fan.
Oh.
The Saints drafted Reggie Bush.
Okay.
That was it. So I'm a Saints fan.
You're a Saints fan.
Saints fan.
I haven't looked ahead at the schedule to see if the Vikings play the Saints this year.
They don't.
Or not. They don't. Okay.
They don't.
Well,
I went last year when the Vikings played the Saints. I got to see Jameis Winston complete the most insane touchdown I've ever seen and throw the most insane interception I've ever seen in the same game.
well, the odds of them meeting in the playoffs are pretty slim this year.
Yeah, because
But
the Saints are not good.
If the Vikings play the Saints, or the next time the Vikings, if we're still doing this a year from now, if the Vikings lose to your Saints, I, Doug Leier, will shave my head.
Wow. You heard it here first, folks. Breaking news. I'm going to put that in our notifications right now as we speak.
Okay, I'm done with the joke.
Welcome to the great outdoors.
But you've got nothing for, like, if the Vikings beat, you're not going to shave your head?
No.
Okay.
I'll shave my face.
Oh, okay.
I've done that before.
Okay.
I'll go. Everyone loved when I was clean shaven on the broadcast.
See, and here's the thing. Like, if people are new to this and they didn't see my patch, they think, there's the outdoors guy. He's got kind of the beard.
It's because I got to start wearing flannel or whatever.
But no, you've got the grizzle going.
Yeah.
And I'm just.
It's my Alaska blood coming through.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's good.
Well, Doug, let's venture into the great outdoors a little bit here. We've got the rundown you sent me of stuff we wanted to talk about today. Non-resident waterfowl opener listed right away there. How was that? It was okay, and I'm pretty optimistic when it comes to hunting because in terms of field conditions, air conditions, hunting. It really wasn't that great. Okay.
I mean, it was much better weather last weekend. So the full waterfowl opener in North Dakota, the non-resident opener was last Saturday in North Dakota, and it was almost much more suited, if you remember last Saturday, to fishing, to water skiing, to swimming. It wasn't a duck hunting type of a day. I say that with a little bit of a justification is that there's still a lot of people that just love getting out there. And it's not so much about, man, it was too sunny, it was too warm. It's me and my son went, me and my brother. My brother came back from Minneapolis. We went out duck hunting. We haven't done that since we were in high school. So there's a lot more to the hunt. But in terms of for the best conditions for duck and goose, it wasn't that. And I will also say it's going to get better. And that's one way to look at it. It wasn't like the greatest opener that we've ever had. So there's a lot of hope that things are going to get better. And quite frankly, this weekend might not be even much better for duck and goose hunters. It's going to be, still a pretty nice fall weekend with sun and not
good weather, not the best conditions for what you're trying to do.
Right. And that's where we always send that message of, kind of don't let the calendar tell you what to do. If it's warm and sunny and you want to go fishing, then go fishing. We've got our full pheasant season opens up this weekend. We had our youth pheasant season last weekend. So we're mixing a lot of different opportunities for people out there. So you can kind of deviate. You can go off the beaten path a little bit and just say, hey, it's a beautiful weekend. We'll try some duck hunting in the morning, try some goose hunting, and it might not be as good. But then after that, maybe we will go fishing and enjoy some of the sunshine. So not the best, full waterfall opener, but it was okay. I guess I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can. And because the other side of it, if it was windy and rainy and cold, that real ducky type weather,
that'd be great. Then.
It would be. And then you'd actually have, a few people, a small segment of that population, it's too crummy out there. We'll wait till next weekend.
Right.
So the nice weather does, give people, hey, let's go do it. It might not be the greatest conditions for bagging a few ducks, but let's get out there because it's a nice day and we're not going to freeze when we get out there. So
the conditions in these opening weeks, it's been warm, borderline hot. Have you seen anything like this in your time?
I mean, we do, and that's the beautiful thing about where we live. I mean, we've had early Octobers with snow on the ground.
Right.
We've had a pheasant opener with blizzards that have taken place. So we've had it, and one of the things that hunters do is they just kind of like, well, this is what we got to deal with. Let's go and do it. We're not going to find any birds sitting at home in our basement waiting for the best day. And it's
Probably not.
Like people will say about golf and fishing and a lot of other things. If you're waiting for the perfect day, you may never go. So it's been warm. The archery deer hunters have really been battling the bugs, and it seems like as things when they cooled off just like 10, 15 degrees. I don't know for people if they were out at football games or outdoors, but when it cooled off a little bit earlier this week, it was better. So we'll see what it looks like this weekend. But the bugs have been tough for people.
Yeah, they've been really bad this year in general. We've had vector control on the desk actually, just kind of talk about how bad of a season it's been, and so that seems to be continuing a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't worry though, good news. All the bugs will be dead soon.
Yeah, right.
They're finally dying like we all want them to do. Now, next up, pheasant hunting, correct?
Yeah.
What can pheasant hunters expect to find this year? What are kind of the indicators at this point in the year?
Right. So our pheasant season opens up on Saturday, and if you look at the statistics, if you go to the Game and Fish Department website, you're going to see that our pheasants are down 3% from last year. The brood number is down 1%. The thing that we try to really get people to focus on is the total population over the 10-year average is up. Okay. The 10-year average. So from last year, it's kind of stagnant. But if we look at the 10-year, if we look at the kind of the 10-year index, then we see a lot more positivity in our pheasant numbers. So judging from what some of the youth pheasant hunters found last weekend, there should be some pretty good birds out there. One thing to remind people is pheasants aren't a migratory species. They're not migrating in from Canada. And there were places in North Dakota that had some pretty nasty hail and some pretty severe storms. Hearing about the EF5. I mean, that's just tells you how bad some of our storms were. So if you take that as a snapshot, if you had a corner where you love to hunt and it got pounded by a hailstorm or it got flooded out, you may not find very good pheasant numbers. The flip side of it is, you look at our numbers, well, it should be out saying you might have a back 40 and you had just some optimal conditions for growing and raising pheasants this year. You might find a bumper crop of pheasants. So that's the beautiful thing about, when I'm talking about numbers on a statewide basis, and especially with things like pheasants, they're a resident species, and if you're driving to volleyball games and football games and you're always seeing some roosters alongside the road, don't let me tell you that, the numbers are okay.
Right.
Just say, hey, this is going to be fantastic. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what Doug Leier said. It doesn't matter what we heard, watching Devin Fry. So I think the other side of it is this weekend, again, is going to be really conducive for going out for a walk, to getting out there and going pheasant hunting. It should be a great weekend to get out there. I want to caution people to make sure that they're taking care of their dogs. If the temperatures do rise, remember, in that thick grass, there's no air movement for your dogs, and they're down underneath that, and it gets even warmer without that air movement. So we want to make sure if temperatures are pretty warm, depending on where you're at, whether you're hunting in Dickinson or down in Hankinson or anywhere else, if you've got some warmer temperatures, make sure, because if you talk to veterinarians, what we've seen in the past is sometimes your dogs don't show that heat stress until it's almost too late. And it can be the end of the day. Wow, the dog worked great today. And you get to the end of the day, and they're just going and going and going. And the next thing you know, you've got some problems on your hands. So please, make sure you've got that water. Make sure you're giving your pup some breaks, and make sure that you're very aware that if you haven't been out getting yourself in shape and your dog hasn't been getting out in shape, then you're both going to be better off maybe sitting down having a sandwich and taking a little more breaks and watching everybody else go hunting.
Yeah, there's always time for a little bit of a sandwich break in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned kind of taking this time to go out and maybe explore a little bit, get more familiar with the areas you may be trying to hunt in.
Yeah.
How important is that, especially for something like pheasant? How important is it to really be familiar with where you're at this time of the year?
It's huge. because one of the beautiful things about hunting and fishing is we're more mobile than ever. You might be, watching us in Grand Forks or Fargo, and you're planning to head maybe to Stanley or, down to Regent. And what you don't know is maybe that field last year that you were hunting, maybe that CRP is now corn, or maybe that CRP turned into soybeans. So land can change from year to year, and if you haven't been there since last year, you might have a real big eye opener.
Yeah.
The land may have changed hands. It may have been sold. So it's like a lot of things in life. The more preparation you put in it, the better expectations that you can have. And if you don't prepare, you're really setting yourself up for a little bit of failure. So we really encourage people to put that extra time in there to research and where you're going, because it's going to pay off in the end. The other side of it is you can adjust your expectations. Hey, you know what? I'm waking up on Saturday, I'm going pheasant, got no idea what I'm going to find. Then don't be disappointed.
Right.
If you do end up just sitting there eating a sandwich because, well, looks like this is all I got,
Have nobody to blame but yourself.
Exactly, and you don't, really, you don't, especially with some of the weather that we had. You got, hey, it's your own responsibility to put that preparation into it. So it's a really good point.
Last thing, kind of on the pheasant numbers, observed down 3% from last year, broods down 1%, average brood size down 6%. But then you mentioned the 10-year average, the number's actually up. How much do those numbers, those percentages kind of fluctuate year by year?
They do a lot.
Okay.
They really can a lot, and that's really important to when, we live in this statistical world and people want to analyze stats and they want to do regression curves. And if you're doing regression curves on pheasants, we'll call you and we'll put you on the payroll because you got a.
You hear that? You got a job.
We got a job. And we love the passion that hunters have because they want to get those statistics and find out, what's the population doing. It's like, how the analytics of baseball have turned into, let's just see what we can do to shift the odds in our favor. Well, again, numbers are numbers. And that doesn't mean you're not going to hit a home run, and that doesn't mean you're not going to strike out. It still comes down to, what you find in the field. And you can sit around and look at numbers all you want, but the true numbers are what you're going to find into the field. But what I would say is our expectations this year are for a good pheasant hunting season. Okay. I don't want to blow, I don't want to say Super Bowl bound,
right,
or we're going to win a championship. But I think we should have a good season. The other side of it is this weekend, as we kind of said with maybe the waterfall hunting, is it's going to be really, really conducive just to get out there and go for a walk. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the beautiful things about it is we're going to have smiles on people's faces and dads and sons, and they're just going to be happy going out there, going for a walk with each other in the beautiful sunshine and enjoying the great outdoors.
Well, we've talked about it before. It's about the experience, less the results. And so this is a good opportunity to get that experience out there. Doug, next thing we wanted to talk about, we're going to go ahead and show this video that we got from a viewer last week.
Oh, yeah.
A moose on the loose. This is in a apartment building parking lot here. The moose did end up getting out of town safely, but Fargo PD had to post a warning basically saying, hey, don't bother this moose, leave it alone.
I want to tell people this is not live, this isn't happening right now.
Correct. That very good note.
This
Doug,
is last Thursday.
Doug, you're a natural for this.
Well, because I've been, I was there.
Yep.
And,
okay.
And here's one of the messages that we want to get out is, we have wild animals within our community, and we have deer and turkeys and coyotes and fox. We have different wild animals that move into town, and sometimes we don't even know. They may be here in the dark of night and they move back out. And the best advice that we can give to people is to, number one, give them some space. I know it's cool to see a moose, but the best thing for that moose and for you is to just let it be and let it do what it's going to do. If people are familiar with what has happened when people try to get too close to a buffalo in Yellowstone National Park.
Yep.
I was on the scene with this moose last week, and there were people trying to get video of it, and the moose turned around in that alley and started coming back the other direction. Those moose are so big and so strong, and they are in that fight or flight mode. They really don't want to be in town. I mean, we don't want to spend the night, out in the swamp. They really don't want to spend the night in town, but they end up wandering into town. And, they don't have Google Maps to get themselves out of town.
Right.
And sometimes they're just going to wander. And when people start to gather and to try to take videos, to get pictures of them, they can become agitated, they can become disoriented, and that's when they can start running through fences and into vehicles and causing, serious bodily injury to people in car collisions if a moose goes across 13th Avenue or Main Avenue. And I know people love to make videos. And we want to just really caution people from trying to make videos. And what's even worse is if they take those and then they post them in real time online and they put locations on there, like here's where the moose is, and it just gathers more and more people, because that's what can contribute to a unhappy ending for that moose. And everybody wants to see the moose live happily ever after. And they tend to think, well, they're the only, I'll go take a picture of it. I'll go take a video of it. And everybody thinks that. And the next thing you know, you've got a moose that's really gotten itself into a bad part of town and a bad situation. And, we work with Fargo Police Department and all law enforcement to try to make sure that the citizens are safe. And then we also want to make sure that the animals are safe too. And unfortunately, at times, that becomes a negative interaction. So again, it could be happening right now. It's not, that video was not current.
It's not. No.
But again, there's no guarantee that it might not happen tomorrow or next week or the next day. And, oftentimes people think, well, it's a moose, it's unique. It is, but treat it no differently than you would like a deer. You don't go to try to take pictures of it. You just go, oh, there's a deer. We've talked about this a few weeks ago with your experience in Alaska. I mean, people, they've learned to coexist with moose. And we would ask that people, it's gotten better here, but we can still improve.
I don't want to say people are back home are terrified of moose. There's a healthy fear, though. Because
and there should be.
Moose are massive creatures, and we have this beautiful video you guys provided for us here of these moose where they belong in their natural habitat here. Just kind of, obviously, any wild animal can be dangerous, but when people hear a moose, it may not come to the forefront just how dangerous it can be, but just kind of, can you put that into kind of perspective for people?
Right, and if you've ever, seen or heard about a Clydesdale getting loose or an elephant at a circus getting loose, this is similar to that, but this is a wild animal, and nobody has the real means and the tools. When you talk about, whether it's a horse or an elephant, they've got the equipment and the tools right there to try to get things back under control. And when you take a moose out of the field and into the city, it's just a real tough situation to try to make sure that the people are safe and that the animal is safe. These creatures are so big. They look cool. They don't look that fast, but they are fast. Yep. And they're bigger than a horse. They're probably more like a Clydesdale than they are a pony.
I think that's fair.
And then they're absolutely strong. They really don't have the best eyesight. And the other side of it is they really don't have a lot of fear. And, so they typically kind of go.
They're so big, nothing messes with them too much out there,
Right. I mean, they typically go where they want to go, when they want to go, and if they want to go. And some of our viewers might remember, we've had situations where, I remember there was a winter, and there was a moose up by Argusville Gardner. Okay. And it was standing alongside of Interstate. And every time people would be going back and forth, like the UND hockey games from Fargo, we'd get all these reports. There's a moose by Interstate. And it wasn't sick. It just decided that, hey, I like this. And it was literally there almost an entire winter. It would wander from one spot to another spot. And, the moose that was in Fargo last week, from what we know, that moose was likely within the city limits for probably somewhere from 36 to 48 hours.
Wow, okay.
And worked its way back out of town from the heart of the city, which proves that if they are left alone, they can find, there's no guarantees, there's no 100%, but they can find their way back out to a little more natural moose habitat.
Right, which is where we want them to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And then where they want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where all their food's at.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to find that in an apartment parking lot.
Well,
maybe. Depends on where you're
dive
at.
in Bullwinkle.
And that's another thing, with growing up in Alaska, just how big these things are. And you mentioned a moose being right off the interstate. That's the most terrifying thing I could possibly imagine. Because if you hit a moose with your car,
fatality.
Lights out. Yeah,
it is.
No,
it's fatality.
Scary.
You're driving 80 miles an hour on the interstate, and a moose is there, and you strike that moose. Unfortunately, there's probably going to be a real negative result in that interaction.
And lastly for this, I guess everything kind of just goes back to using caution. And whether, of course, a moose being in town, that's going to get a lot of attention and get a lot of people over. But really just using caution when you run into any sort of wild animal, probably the message there, right?
Well, and we try to portray this as that if you see a stray dog, you don't go running up to it.
True.
If you see a coyote in town, you don't go try to run up. And for some reason, I think maybe just because historically moose just seem to be, just kind of lackadaisical and docile. But when they start to move, with that much mass and that much speed. You're talking about, refrigerator Perry with the football.
Once you see the hair on the back of their neck area stand up, that's a problem.
It is a problem, more for you than it is for them.
Very much so. Doug, thank you so much for joining us here for another week of the Great Outdoors. We'll see you back here next Wednesday.
Thanks, Devin.
And we'll see you back here next Wednesday as well. Well, I hope we will. Tune in if you want to. I guess I don't have any sway over whether or not they have to, but it'd be nice.
We'd love to.
We'll see you next time for the Great Outdoors. Stay tuned to Valley News Now. We have a lot more coming up today and for the rest of this week. Be sure to stay tuned. But for now, for Valley News Now, I'm Devin Fry.